My religious upbringing didn't involve churches and Christ and absolution. It involved ashrams and magnets and bowls of brown rice. Back in the 1950s, my lapsed Catholic grandmother, a housewife in Cleveland, Ohio, picked up the Bhagavad Gita. Years later, her daughter, my mother, opened a yoga studio. She also started work on a manuscript about Walt Whitman and his visit with the 19th century mystic Dr. Richard Maurice Buck, author of Cosmic Consciousness. Quietly brewing changes struck with a sudden finality. My parents split and my mother moved in with a yoga teacher. This was in 1984 in a Canadian town known for its insurance company and brewery. I didn't want my high school friends to know my new house had a framed portrait of Yogi Amrit Desai and a meditation room. And then, just a few months later, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. At first she followed doctor's orders, completing a course of chemotherapy. But when the cancer returned a few years later, she wanted no more of hospitals. There would be no surgery, no radiation. Magnets, meditation, and flower essences were not enough to cure her, though. She died in 1992, at age 53. In 2007, I was invited to spend a month at a writer's colony in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. A quiet town in the Ozarks seemed like a good place to get work done. The airport taxi driver explained Eureka as a blue town in a red state. It hosts a passion play, a creationist museum, and a biblical petting zoo. It's also a favorite stop for Hell's Angels artists and bluegrass musicians. There's an annual conference on cross-dressing, too. Above it all stands Christ of the Ozarks, a 67-foot concrete statue modeled on Rio's Christ the Redeemer, set high on a hill. His legs are stumpy, his head's blocky, and his thick, outstretched arms are impossibly straight. The driver said that locals call him Gumby. Eureka used to be known for its healing waters. The town's Victorian-styled main drag, Spring Street, is flanked by a rocky embankment where several cold water springs still flow. Some pool into dark, stone-faced caverns called grottos. Others trickle past gardens decorated with memorial inscriptions and moss-covered urns. In the 19th century, people came from all over to be cured of ailments. A splash from Basin Spring, local legend holds, restored sight to a blind Indian princess. Today, seepage from old sewer lines makes the water undrinkable. But Eureka's still a town of second acts and life changes. We all came to Eureka for a reason, the taxi driver told me. There's something deep down in the land that's got a magnetic pull. For the first couple of days at the colony, I was alone. I worked in the quiet of my room, but took time out to train for a marathon, running through the town's meandering, crisscrossing streets and up and down its many hills. I took in the sights. A handcrafted jewelry shop crammed candy-colored blown glass figurines in its window. One store was devoted entirely to hot sauce, another to cowboy couture. The police beat section of the local paper read, "A stray goat was apprehended last night on Spring Street," and "A woman called with a noise complaint, but when the officer arrived, no disturbance was found." Curious, I researched Carrie A. Nation, the hatchet-faced, hatchet-wielding temperance movement leader who lived out the last few years of her life in Eureka. The boarding house/women's shelter she ran there was called Hatchet Hall. The town seemed to draw me out into its streets. I zeroed in on an antique store specializing in visionary art. I'd never seen anything like it before. The place was packed with Native American pottery, silver crucifixes, obscure treatises, folk art paintings, and porcelain dolls with scuffed glass eyes that opened and closed. I could imagine my mother pausing in front of each object and the bird-like way she'd tilt her head. The store's owner, a denim-clad man in his 60s, showed me a few yellowed prints: a mountain lion, Saint Sebastian, and death personified. He invited me up a staircase to see circus posters, wooden mannequins, and a taxidermy fox. And across a terrace, in an adjacent building, he brought me to a second-story courtyard with a stone pietà. There was a large, dented brass instrument, some kind of horn I didn't know the name of, placed incongruously, though clearly intentionally, over the pair. It encircled Mary like a fluted golden ring. There was something startling about this unlikely arrangement of artifacts that sent a chill down my spine. I imagined my mother's soft voice with its Midwestern accent. You know, it's all part of evolution. With every generation, our consciousnesses are changing too.
Any day of the week.